Welcome back to your Java game development tutorial series, and today I want to cover how to set up a character death so that your main character can die and then you can either restart the game or, set a set number of lives and such. You know what I'm getting at. But, so to do this, we need to change some things in our blob class, obviously. And we're going to create a new private Boolean alive equals true by default. And then let's go down to the bottom and we're going to put in another method called public Boolean is alive. And then we'll return alive. So that would just allow us to check and make sure our character is alive whenever we need to. But, so we need to set it up. We have one enemy set up called our ice cube. And what we want to do is when we collide with our ice cube, it will cause our character to die. So let's go back to our blob. Since we already have this set up under our step method, we're just going to go and add a little bit more to it. Instead of checking if it's an instance of a blobium, we're just going to check and see if it's an instance of an ice cube. And then if this .mass collides with gp.stuff.get bbb.mask, then we'll cast it to an ice cube. gp.stuff.get, and we have to import ice cube in just a second. .blob. Well, let's make a new method. We're going to say ice enemy collision. And we'll pass in this as well. Oh, sorry, no, we want to make the enemy collision in this class. I was just copying the other line there, and that was not what we want to do. And we want to pass in an ice cube to this method that we're going to create. And our ice cube would be, well, let's not pass an ice cube, we're just going to pass in a thing. Because that'll be more convenient for us. Get. Alright, and then we're just going to create our method. And then we can call this method whenever we have a collision with any kind of enemy. And so the first thing we want to do is find out what kind of enemy we're dealing with. Which right now we only have one, so it's not too complicated. But we're just going to say if thing instance of ice cube, then we'll handle our ice cube collision. And so it's very simple. The first thing that we are going to do is we want to destroy our ice cube. And the reason why we're going to do this is because we don't want our character to collide with our ice cube multiple times. And for other enemies you might want this to happen, but for this case I don't think we do. Well, no. Actually, let's go a different direction. And this kind of stuff doesn't really matter. This is just how we're structuring our game, I guess. Instead, let's make it that when the blob touches one ice cube, he dies. And that way we don't have to go through as many hoops. So if we collide with an ice cube, what we want to say is alive equals false. And that's pretty much what we need to do in the blob class, I think. We might go up to our step method and say if alive is true. Otherwise, we don't really want to, well, the reason why I don't like that is because we're getting rid of gravity when we do that. And even when something dies, it's still being acted on by gravity. So let's just go down here. Yeah, let's not do that. That seems iffy. And again, what I'm deciding on is basically just how the game is designed right now. And it's not really that big of a deal. You could change any of this and be pretty fine as long as you keep it so everything works. Yeah. Hold on, guys. I'll be right back. So I actually should have a death sprite. Let's see if I have it in here. Yeah, I do. And you don't have to do this if you don't want to make a death sprite for your character, but I have one, so I'm just going to go ahead and load it. And I think I'm going to call this D1, D2, D3. But if you want to set up a death sprite, this is pretty much how you do it. You load it just like any other sprite, and it really is very simple. And I'm actually going to go ahead and copy this because it's in the same directory as the rest of the blob images. And then I'll just say this is D1. And let me find out what the name is. A2. We have B, C, and D. I don't know why I named my images like this, but when I created the sprite, that's how I did this. It's probably not the best way to go, but I don't know, it does have some perks. But okay, so now we got that loaded. We're going to go back to our blob and we're going to create a new sprite. Call this death. And then death equals new sprite. And I'm going to keep the same scale, I think. I think it's the same scale. And then our images are LM. Ooh. There we go. So there's my sprite, and then let's change the speed. And I don't remember what I used on this one. I want to say it was a little slower than the old one, than the regular sprite, but we'll find out. That's not too important. Death dot freeze frame would be 3. And let's go ahead and set that to true for now. So basically, if we are alive, we want to do this, all of this stuff. And I know this is a lot to correct. And we even want all this to be inside of the alive part, because we don't want to collide with things twice. But we're going to handle that a different way. And then else if alive. Well, let's just do else. There's only two options with Booleans anyways, so might as well take advantage of it. We'll say death dot step. And then we'll go down to our render, which is somewhere down here. If alive, we will do our regular sprite. And then if not, death dot render. Okay, so let's just test that out. It's probably not going to look too. It's not probably not going to work too well, but let's just see what happens. And there's my death sprite. And I can still move, which we should probably change that. But I think the speed was alright, to be honest. The next thing we need to do is restart the game, because to be honest, it's kind of stupid if you die and then you're still there, you can still move and stuff like that. So what we're going to do for that is we're going to use another alarm. So we're going to go to our panels, level 1, and then in our constructor we're going to create an alarm. We're going to say alarms, does help spell it right, dot add, and let's just make it 40, and then alarms dot not alarms, alarm status dot add false. And that basically means that we're not counting this alarm right away. And so the next thing we want to do is when we die, we want to, I think I can access it from here, alarm status dot I should do this differently. Here, I'll show you what I'm getting at. Set this to true, and then I want to go back to our level, and I want to say public static integer death alarm equals 0, and then we're going to set our position to death alarm. And then when we call to it, we want to use death alarm too. That way we are just changing the position we want. Sorry, it's GP. It's not GP. It's level 1 dot death alarm, right? Might have to import level 1. And if you wanted to make it so it applies to all levels, you might want to consider putting it in your driver class, which is something I didn't really think of right away. Hold on. Yeah, it should work. I thought I was forgetting something. And apparently I am. So I'm going to check on that real fast. Okay, so I want to do this a little bit differently. Instead of doing this right here, we are going to do it in our level. And that might make things a little bit easier in the long run, even though that's not actually the issue that I was having with. So if blob is alive is not true, then we'll say alarm status add death alarm true. And then in our level 1, we need to override alarm active, and we can get rid of the super method in this too. So we're going to do a switch case. Switch our position in case of death alarm, oh, I always forget that these need to be final. So in case of our death alarm, we are going to restart the frame. So we'll just say, what is it? Game.start splash driver is game, and our next panel is game.level1. And so that will make us go to the splash screen again and back to level 1. So hopefully this works. So I get hits, and I go back to my splash screen, and we have a small issue because we are not resetting the values of the blob. We are going to have issues. Which I thought we were resetting the values of the blob. Interesting. Okay, anyways, either way, we still have to reset values of the blob. That's something we're going to have to do at some point anyways. So let's just go under the constructor, because that's an easy place to get to. We'll say public void reset, and let's give it an integer. Oh no, we won't reset coordinates, we'll just reset everything else. And we'll say score equals 0, alive equals true, jump num equals 0, and we do need to do coordinates, I think. So we'll say integer x is y, this dot x equals x, and this dot y equals y. So then, when we load our level 1, what we want to do when we find our blob is, what we want to do is we're going to say blob.reset, and I don't think we really want to change the position, blob.x and blob.y. Or at least, I don't know, I feel like this isn't going to work. My gut's telling me no. Because I feel like we're going to run into the same problem. I don't think, yeah, we didn't really fix anything. Let me get back to this in just a second. Okay, so we're going to change a few things to get this working correctly. We're going to go to our game class, and we're going to say, in our start splash, well, no, skip that first. We want to create a method called reset panel. And so it'll just be public static void reset panel, integer panel, and then, what is it? Panels.add panel null. And so this is just going to reset our panel to null. And it's going that way when we reinitialize the panel, it will handle things correctly. And then, sorry, I'm not being very descriptive. And then up here in our start splash method, under panels.getCurrentPanelSetVisibleFalse, we're going to call reset panel current panel. And then we're going back to our level 1. Well, actually go back to blob where we said reset. Let's get rid of x and y. I was right the first time. We don't really want to reset x and y. And then let's go to level 1 up here, and we'll get rid of blob X and Y, and that should handle everything that we need. So when I go over here and die, restart the panel, and unfortunately it's not working still. I thought for sure that would work. Okay, so the solution of this is actually really complicated, and it's not something I can really cover in this tutorial because we have to change a lot of things to get this to work. And so I'm just going to take a shortcut, which I'm not proud of, but it has to be done in this case. And so we're going to access our level, and we're going to say equals new, well, hold on. Let me open this up and make sure I do this correctly. We want to reload our map. So really we're going to copy this from our loading manifest, our LM, go back to our level 1, and we're really just going to reload our map at the beginning of the level. That way we shouldn't have to reset our blob anymore. Everything should work, hopefully. I haven't tried this yet, but I'm pretty dang sure it's going to work now, because, yeah, it does. I'm right. So, yeah, this problem is really complicated. I'm really sorry about that, guys. But I guess you just have to reload your map at the beginning, which is very inconvenient, I know. I'd like to find another workaround, but this is the other ones are just too much work to do in this tutorial series. So I think I'm going to leave this tutorial at that. I hope you guys like my videos and you subscribe. I will have a tutorial series coming out soon that teaches you the basics of Java. So if you're going through this tutorial series and some of this doesn't make too much sense to you, or you don't fully understand what I'm doing, that tutorial series will be for you. And yeah, I guess I'll see you guys next time.